IONET price prediction 2025, the best 100x AI play on Solana, complete analysis now. Everyone is talking about Render and Bittenzor, but hardly anyone is looking at IONET. And this very project could be the best 100x AI play on Solana. In this video, you'll get the full analysis, opportunities, risks, and real price scenarios. If you don't stay until the end, you might miss the next big thing, AI rocket that could change your portfolio. Welcome to 10x Crypto, your channel for honest, data-driven altcoin analysis. My name is Marius and I actually come from quality management. There I learned that decisions should never be based solely on gut feeling, but always on clear data. That's exactly why my passion and my 10x formula were born. With my exclusive formula, I analyze altcoins based on 20 key metrics, each of which I rate from 0 to 10. In the end, you get a clear result in percent, 4 different price scenarios, and the vision 2030. What could still happen price-wise by 2030? At the end, you'll also get a chart analysis, and I'll show you what I would do right now. Buy, sell, or wait. My goal is simple: to give you clarity in a market full of hype. So if you're looking for data-driven altcoin analyses and want to know which altcoins really have massive potential, then subscribe to my channel now. Here, you make decisions based on facts, not hype. But attention, a disclaimer, my channel is not financial advice, but purely for informational purposes. Everyone is talking about Miranda and so on, but hardly anyone is looking at io.net. This altcoin could be one of the biggest AI plays, especially on Solana. Today, you'll get the answer to the question of how many X's are really possible. But first, let me introduce the coin. So what exactly is io.net? In the end, it's a decentralized GPU network. The project essentially pools graphics cards from data centers around the world. This allows companies, startups, and developers to run AI applications more cheaply and quickly. Instead of using AWS from Amazon or Google Cloud, io.net relies on Solana. This makes it fast, affordable, and 70% cheaper than centralized providers. In short, it's the Airbnb for GPUs. So, what market problem is being solved here? We all know that AI requires an incredible amount of computing power. Nvidia controls almost the entire market and prices are skyrocketing. But IONET solves exactly this problem. It makes unused GPUs around the world accessible. This naturally lowers costs and creates scalability, especially for strong AI startups. More than 2,200 teams are already using IONET today. Over 20 million computer hours have already been run. But what does the technical setup look like? As mentioned, the platform runs on Solana. This of course ensures low transaction costs and very fast speeds. Every GPU in the network becomes a node. It's integrated and connected with the I/O. With the token, users can buy or rent GPU power. For developers, there's I/O Intelligence, an AI inference platform with over 30 models. And this isn't just marketing, it's real infrastructure for the AI revolution. Why is this so exciting for you right now? Currently, IONET has a market cap of around 100 million. That's in the low cap range. High risk, but massive potential. The vision of IONET as a currency for computing power, partnerships with Solana, Binance, and major VCs are in place. And the demand for GPUs continues to explode. If AI remains the biggest tech topic of the next 10 years, then IONET could be one of the winners in the DePIN sector. So before we get started, as always, grab yourself a coffee and leave a like for me. And if you want to support me, become a 10x supporter on YouTube. Thank you for your support. As always, let's start with the market cap. Market cap, $106 million, which puts it in the low cap range. As I said, that's massive growth potential. For comparison, Render is already much higher. That's obviously a huge advantage. And with low caps, there are always exclusive moves to the upside possible. Still, you should always keep the risks in mind. But here, due to the potential, a strong 8. So what about the circulating supply? 25% of the tokens are in circulation. You have to be careful here because more unlocks could happen in the future. That's obviously quite critical and always something to watch. Especially since July, a lot of tokens have been unlocked. That could, of course, further increase the selling pressure. That's why this area only gets a 4. Let's move on to the roadmap. The roadmap from iopunkton.net is very concrete. They have 5 phases. Many goals have already been achieved. Binance launch pool, over 20 million computer hours, strong partnerships, so they're very well positioned here. 8. So how strong is the team? The founder has a background in quantitative finance and engineering. The CTO from Binance has Web3 experience and strong connections to the Ethereum Foundation, a team that has already proven how to scale deep tech projects successfully. Here, 9. Then what about the narrative? AI, DeepIn plus Solana, this is one of the hottest narratives for 2025. There's a global GPU shortage. IONET wants to solve this problem. A story that's also easy to sell. So a strong 9. Then what problem do they want to solve? The problem of GPU monopolies like Nvidia, for example. Which of course leads to exploding prices. The solution, decentralization of GPUs worldwide. And 70% cheaper than AWS. More than 2,200 teams are already saving costs today. So a strong 9. Then what about sustainability? As mentioned, IO.net runs on Solana. It's very efficient and uses proof of stake. Transactions consume only a fraction compared to, for example, altcoins. But GPUs, of course, consume a lot of electricity. Still, they run much more efficiently today than centralized clouds. A solid 7. So what about investors? $30 million in US funding from Hack VC, Multicoin and DeepIn, as well as Solana Labs and top names in the DeepIn sector. In addition, 5.7 million in revenue in May 2025. So the roadmap is financially secured, a strong 9. Next up is the competition. Direct competitors include Render, for example, but there's also Bitensor. Currently, IONET has fewer users but the larger GPU network. By the way, I've also analyzed Render. You can check out the analysis up here if you like. In any case, there's a 70% cost saving compared to others. That's a strong argument. But of course, adoption still needs to grow. By the way, if you're interested in other altcoin analyses, check out the playlist called the 10x Universe. I've linked it for you in the video description. And next weekend, I have 2 more altcoins that could be extremely exciting for you. So subscribe to the channel now and activate the bell so you don't miss anything. Here, a solid 7, marketing. Strong community marketing, meetups, Binance, launch pool, social media with high activity, decentralized, international, and very present. A strong 8? Then how simple is the idea? Well, IO.net is easy to explain. Airbnb for GPUs. You rent out unused computing power and get 70% cheaper access. It's easy to understand, right? Did you get it? Write it in the comments. A strong 9. Then what about the long-term vision? The goal of IONET is to become the global currency for computing power. By 2030, they want to have over $1 billion in market revenue. And the market is a $1.8 million market. A strong 8 in this area. Then deflationary max supply. What does that look like? Do they have a max supply? Yes, 800 million IO. No burn, but the supply is limited. Emotions are calculable here. Here, a solid 7. Then what about the fully diluted market capitalization? It's at 424 million. US dollars, that's a ratio of 3.9 times the market cap. What does that mean? That's absolutely within the range. Rating 8. Then volume, what does that look like? Volume is about 43 million US dollars with a market cap of 106 million, ratio 0.4. That's extremely strong. There has been high liquidity recently and a lot of trading interest. A strong 10? Then how was the token distribution? At the beginning there were lockup periods. Investors had a fair vesting period, meaning a lockup of 3 years with a cliff. The launch pool was fair, no massive pre-mines in that area. A strong 8. Then what about the top coin holders? The top 100 hold around 60%. No single whale dominates, but of course there's still room for more decentralization. So a solid 7 here. Next, how about the utility? The token serves as a means of payment for GPU power, for staking, but also for voting rights and access to IO intelligence. It has real utility, it's not just a speculation token. A strong 9. Then what about the community? Over 100,000 followers on X, a strong Discord community, events worldwide. Are you also a holder of IO.net? Are you a fan? Write so IO in the comments to support the community and the altcoin. A solid 8 here. So what events are coming up this year? AI Infra Summit, new partnerships, more unlocks, a very active roadmap for the next 6 months. That's strong 8. Sometimes there are those rare altcoins that seem unbeatable at first glance, but on a second look can change everything. IO.net is exactly such a project. On my Cynics ranking list, it scores 75.8%. That's a solid candidate, but there's still room for improvement. So, what have we learned now? From the full analysis, first, a favorable valuation. They have a 100 million market cap. That's a low cap with potential. They have a strong roadmap, a strong team, a clear vision, and good investors as well. The real use cases are there. Decentralization of GPUs, 70% cheaper than AWS, but there are also risks, especially token unlocks. And the fact that there are quite a few competitors in the AI sector. My assessment? IO.net is not a guaranteed winner, but it's an exciting AI altcoin, especially because it's based on Solana. If the demand for GPUs explodes, this altcoin could really take off as well. By the way, if you're interested in which altcoins I personally hold in my portfolio, I recommend the 10x Elite. Take a look at it. I've linked a tutorial for you up here, but you can also scan the QR code here. That will take you straight to the app. Just check everything out. It's extremely exciting. Now let's move on to the different price scenarios. Let's start with the bear scenario again. In the bear scenario, IONet stays small. The token unlocks put pressure on the price. Adoption is happening even more slowly than expected. Here, prices below $1 are possible. Let's move on to the normal scenario. In the base scenario, IoT.net grows steadily. More and more strong players are using the platform. Stable partnerships are in place. The price could rise to $1 to $2 from the current level. Let's move on to the optimistic scenario. Now things are getting interesting. Deep in AI become the next big story in the crypto market. The narrative keeps gaining momentum. IoT.net prevails, similar to how Render succeeded back then. Then we're talking about prices from $5 to $10. That would already be a massive increase. Now let's move on to the very optimistic scenario. IO.net becomes the standard for GPU infrastructure. Every AI developer knows it and uses it. Here, prices between $20 and $30 are conceivable. It's especially strong on Solana. Vision 2030. How could it develop by 2030? Here, if we really think big, if the entire crypto market grows massively and adoption truly happens, and IONet finds its place as the currency of computing power, then we're talking about prices that could go well beyond $100. Of course, that's extremely speculative, but purely mathematically. Based on the market cap, it's possible, and there's still plenty of time and a lot of capital that could flow into the market by 2030. But now the question is, what happens next? How do I see the current situation? Would I sell? Would I buy in now? Let's move on to the chart analysis. Yes, welcome to my chart analysis. Once again, just a quick note for you all. I use TradingView with a specific indicator focusing on money flow and especially on whether we're in the overbought or oversold area. What does that mean for me? Let me show you with an example here. When people are selling here, we enter the oversold area. The indicator shows this quite well, so you have a rough idea of when the selling zone should actually end. Here we are in the oversold area. Of course, it can still go further down, but the chances are definitely high that this has always been a pretty good entry point for me in the past. So that would have been a point where I would enter, and up here, we're now entering the overbought area. So a lot of people are buying. At some point, there will be so many that the price naturally rises significantly. This is indicated by a red dot. That means we're in an overbought zone here, and that would be a point where I either take profits or exit completely. Of course, that depends on the market situation. In any case, what does it look like at the moment? At the moment, we are actually in a slightly oversold area. So I would definitely keep watching here for now. And here, for me, this would slowly become an absolute entry zone to accumulate a bit more again. Of course, it always depends on the situation, but that would be my personal opinion. As I said, I would now slowly start looking for an entry point here. Finally, my tip. If you liked this analysis, then be sure to check out my next analysis. There, I analyzed the render network and created various price scenarios. This is one of the direct competitors, but it's already a bit further along, especially in terms of market cap. Don't miss out, definitely check it out right now. Thank you very much for your support and see you soon.